Boom, we're live. Hey, welcome back, Disruption Nation. I'm your host, Taylor Waithofer. Very excited today. Got a Travis Brown, Side Hustle King in the house. We, in a second, are going to, this is kind of behind the scenes, okay? We're about to dive into a lot, okay? So, Coach, Social Boom, what that is, 3 calls per week, very inexpensive. It's not a 5, 10K, investment situation. By the way, he's got a free program I just got recently at a podcast conference, the biggest in the world in Dallas. 1 million views in 90 days from 0, right? So good stuff. He killed it on stage. Welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of your experience. And it was awesome meeting you in person. Usually I don't meet people in person for years after being on a podcast, and we've reverse engineered that. We've met in person and now we're doing this virtually. So
yeah, I saw him on stage, gave a great message, was talking with his hands a lot. I make a lot of videos, and his content, our message was, videos, how to make videos, and just in depth, which I appreciated, because I'm like, man, this is what I do. When I go into video mode, content creation mode. So grabbed him after, and I was like, hey man, can we make a quick video? And so we did a little 30-second rip, and anyway, so, and here we are. So thanks for your time. I appreciate you being on.
Amazing to be here.
Where are you, by the way, right now?
I am in beautiful Aurora, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. And it is most famously known as the home of Wayne and Garth, if you're old enough to know Wayne's World. So
sure. Absolutely.
Love the Midwest, love all the seasons. And, the Midwest brings out that blue collar, person. So I would consider myself a hard worker. And so these are all my people out here.
Yep. Nice. Born and raised there, or?
I was actually, born and raised. I lived in St. Louis for a little bit, so I've always been Midwest. I dream about the West, I dream about the beautiful weather, but, I've got family here, so my roots are deep.
You get to the beach on the West Coast some, or?
If I can, yeah. I mean, I'll take any chance I can to get to the beach.
I don't blame you. All right, cool. Well, what were you doing before? Because you said podcast before we were talking. You said about 15 years doing podcast.
Yeah. So my journey's all based off of being completely unafraid of failure. So, in my experience, most people don't go after their dreams because they've made up some excuse in their head of why it might not work, or if it fails, or what people will think. And, I just don't care what people think of me. I think more about what I think of myself than what other people think of me. Now, of course, I take that into account, but it's my superpower is being able to say, hey, I want to try this. I'm going to experiment with this, even if it doesn't work. So I was working, I was actually a professional musician, a gypsy, living out of a van, touring the country, partying my buns off, playing shows to groups of 1,000 to 10 people the next night, having a blast. And at some point you have to give up the Peter Pan dream that you're going to be a rock star. So I got myself a big boy job, and I used to drive an hour there and an hour back. So 2-hour round trip commute to a cubicle. I called it the cubicle of death, because I just, at that point, kind of hated my life, And so this is around 2006. I somehow got a hold of a podcast. I was listening to Success Magazine CDs in the car. I turned my car into a mobile classroom because I knew that if I didn't do anything, I was going to be stuck going to this cubicle, working for this terrible boss. And I just didn't want to end up one of those stories where I just kind of grinded it out till retirement so I could have fun. So at that time, I had a lot of audio experience, audio engineer, made records, did all this stuff. And I heard all these podcasts and they just sounded terrible. And I was like, maybe there's something here for me to pivot to, from musicians to helping podcasters, because there's a lot of similarities there. We're telling stories and songs, and we're telling stories and podcasts. So I went to a mastermind dinner, and it was called the Most Interesting Man in the Room dinner. And I met this guy, and I told him, yeah, I'm a podcast producer. I just made it up. I just said, yeah, I'm a podcast producer. And he's like, oh, I really want to start a podcast. I'm like, great. Let me help you start your podcast. So I started with him and I started helping him and producing and learning the podcasting industry. And from there, he told somebody who hired me, and then they told somebody who hired me. And, 15 years later, I've launched hundreds of shows, produced thousands of podcasts, just because I opened up my mouth to say, yeah, I'm a podcast producer, right? And to date, that same client I still have, he has millions of downloads, and he even got an HGTV show from his podcast. So, that whole experience was putting me behind the scenes. Okay. And at some point I maxed out on clients because I had a full-time job. I would come home and I would edit all these podcasts. I didn't have any time. And so I was listening to all these guru guys tell me that I would need to just sell while I sleep. So you need to make a course, right? So I make this course, really extensive on podcasting, didn't really ask anybody if they wanted it. And as part of the launch marketing, anybody who bought it, I was going to send a deck of cards with 50 unique questions that I curated myself that I would use at dinner parties, that I would use just like if there was a lull in a conversation, and they were really effective. And so I launched this course for $500 or $497, right? And nobody bought it, or like one person bought it. And so I started to panic. I'm like, well, you also get this deck of cards, right? I'm really trying to pump it up. And people were emailing me saying, I don't want the course, but can I buy the cards? And so at first I was like, no, I'm not a deck company. That's not what I do. About the 10th or 11th email, I said, all right, people want these decks of cards. I called it Pod Decks, and I printed one deck. It cost me $35 to print one deck. Okay. I took that deck and I made a little video on my phone, and I ran it as an ad on Instagram. And in one day I sold 100 units. And I was like, that must have been a fluke. And then the next day I sold 100, and the next day I sold 100. So I turned it into a company, a 6-figure business selling decks of cards with questions for podcasters, right? Yeah. And so that was one of those things where it's like you have to listen to what people want. And my course completely failed, right? Most people will be like, I'm a failure. I can't do anything again. And I'm just like, what's the next thing, right? So then fast forward a little bit, Poddex is doing good. And I have this thought, Taylor, someone's going to steal my idea. I'm just one guy. I don't know anything. I'm just making this up as I go along. Yeah. And so I said to myself, and this is a really good lesson for all business people, is how could somebody put me out of business? What would they do? And when I thought about it, I was like, they'd probably make it an app, right? Because it's like, you don't have to ship anything, the logistics, the sourcing. And so that's what I did. I built a mobile app. I'd never built one before. It was my first ever app. So I built an app. And through that process, I started to put myself out on social media because I had all this knowledge for 10 years that I had hidden behind the scenes. And now I wanted to sell this product, but I needed to bring some value to the table. So I started telling people how they could podcast better, how they could improve their shows, all the things I knew from helping my clients grow. And that's when I really got in tune with the power of social media. And some people will call it a personal brand. Some people call it being an influencer, all this stuff. But really, you and I both know, especially in real estate, people buy from people, right? They buy from people. So when that happened, I started studying social media because I'm like, I want to make as much impact as I possibly can. And so I built up a huge account, and people would ask me all the time 2 questions. How do I grow an audience, and how do I make money? How do I grow an audience and how to make money? Nobody wanted me to teach them how to start a podcast, right? So, you know what I did? I said, okay, great. I'm going to start coaching people. Now, these are all these steps along the way, the lesson, and I know this has been sort of a long-winded story, all these lessons is nobody certified me to do anything. Nobody, even if something failed, and I've had many failures in my life, I just learned from it and moved to the next thing. So I think of everything we do as entrepreneurs, as personal brands, as experiments. I've never met a scientist that told me, oh yeah, I'm a failed scientist. No, they're just a scientist and they just do experiments, right? Yeah, right. And if the experiment fails, they find a new variable to test, right? So I like to think of these as experiments. And if you think of yourself as an experimenter, yeah, you can never fail because you're just testing things. So fast forward to now,
Great mindset.
I've figured out social media quite a bit. And now now I'm giving back to all those people that wanted to learn how to grow and monetize. I'm teaching people how to really put themselves out authentically. I'm teaching them how to create irresistible offers and actually sell just through their phone. And it is so much fun. I get to like my big goal, Taylor, is impact, right? I don't need millions of dollars. I have everything I've ever wanted, but I want to make a huge impact. I want people crying at my funeral because I changed their lives. So that's what's brought me here today. I'm from punk rocker to, I don't even know what you call me today. Hopefully an inspirer.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, so I know the values in the video, we're somewhere there, right? I was admiring you on stage. I love the message. And then, and you mixed in with that where people could download. So obviously you can offer that, right now, as long as that wasn't just a
Sure.
Dallas movement podcast, on stage during a keynote special, but but the 1 million views in 90 days from zero, that's epic. I think that'll, raise the eyebrow to most people, right? To at least take a look at. And, by the way, Talk about that.
Yeah. So basically, I've submitted to Podcast Movement every year. They never pick me to speak. And this year they picked me. So I really, I've been to a lot of these events, and most,
you killed it. That was
most of the present. Yeah. Standing roll. Yes. Most of the presentations are veiled sales pitches, which drives me crazy because if somebody pays for a ticket to go to one of these events, they're looking to learn something. They're looking to benefit themselves, right? And yes, you might have a product to sell, but it's really shady to me to make your presentation a veiled sales pitch. So I went in with the thought process of, I'm not going to sell anything. I'm going to jam pack 45 minutes of absolute insane value, rock the house to show everybody that I'm the best presenter here. Okay. Now, my music background helps me because I've rocked lots of stages. So I have a little more confidence, I think, than the average bear. But my presentation was how to go from 0 to 1 million views. Okay. And video content, video is not new. Video is not the future. Video is right now. Okay. And short form video content is king. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. And so I've been studying the industry to try to figure out a method. And I said this in my speech. If you're trying to buy something from somebody, ask them what their method is, because if they don't have a method, they don't have a business, because you need to have a method in order to get a result. So I developed a method that I used on my own account and all of my coaching clients' accounts to get millions of views organically without buying any ads or buying likes or boosting anything, all through value-based content. So that was what I got to present to the podcasters, because podcasters need help getting pushed out there. Actually, come to think of it, everybody needs it. Real estate agents need it. Dentists need it. Every brand needs to be in front of where the eyeballs are, which is looking at their phones on social media, right? So that was my presentation. And if I was going to break it down for you, if you're interested in breaking out in social media, there's 3 phases. There's 3 phases that you need to look at for getting millions of views. The first is really that you need to have a broad enough niche that you can reach millions of people. You can't talk about like dog footprint art, and reach millions of people. It's just not a big enough category, right? You need to be like real estate, or you need to be, something fitness, something that's a huge niche. And the first step is simply doing some simple research. Okay. If I was going to have you buy a lottery ticket and I said, you can either guess all the 7 numbers, or I will give you 5 of the 7 numbers and you just have to guess the last 2, which ticket would you buy?
Yeah.
Right.
Take the shoe in for sure.
Exactly. So research lets us see from a video standpoint what's already working, which gives us that 5 number on the ticket advantage over somebody who's just showing up every day and guessing what to post on social media. And this is no offense to anyone. Most people are guessing. They don't really know that they need to research. So we do some quick research, right? And we figure out what's working. And typically this is based off of a hook. All right. So the hook is the first thing you see or you say in a video. And it's the first thing you hear in a song, the first thing you hear on a podcast, right? This is a hook because we want to hook people's attention. And once we have some hooks that we can test, then we test the hooks with our topics until we see a pattern of what people are resonating with. Okay.
Yeah.
And from there, we go into a consistency mode, which is once we know what's working, we go all in on what's working. Okay. And this is the 3 parts method that allows myself and all my clients to get massive reach. You know, I got 90,000 followers in 6 weeks off of basically 4 or 5 viral videos, right? So, you know, it changed my life in a few ways. More opportunities, speaking opportunities. I got to meet you, right? Like from Instagram, right? So, you know, there's so much that can happen. And the funny thing is I found I sell two high ticket courses. One is how to make your first $10,000, and one's how to get 1 million views in 90 days. Now, it's 5 to 1. People would rather have 1 million views than $10,000. It's crazy because it's status, it's authority, and it's all those things wrapped into one. And I know I'm just going on and on and on as your guest. You're the host. I'm gonna throw you back.
No, I'm gonna keep asking questions anyway. It's gonna keep you talking. So yeah, that's how this goes. So, well, which one though? Are we gonna elaborate on between those two? And
yes, it's people want 1 million views. They'd rather have 1 million views than the money. They'd rather have the status than the money in the bank. And so what that tells me is that, you know, the importance to the average person is that they'd rather be seen than have the money in the bank. They'd rather have the status. They'd rather have the opportunities that come from having the views than the money, which is actually surprising to me, you know, because I think I might take the 10 grand, you know?
Right. I know that's true. I think overall same, but I mean, the little blue check on Instagram and that's why, like, I mean, not to dive deep, but we can, if you want to, elaborate on NFTs. Like, I mean, people want that. That's a flex, right? I mean, it's a
flex. It opens doors. It opens doors that a bank. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it opens doors. Sorry, it opens doors that a bank account statement won't, right? Like blue check, I mean, I just went to Vegas, right? And like the a couple people that I talked to, I would ask them, what do you do? And they're like, they tell me what they do. And they ask me what I do. And I tell them how many followers I have. And then the whole conversation changes. They're trying to give me stuff. They're trying to offer me stuff because it's this veiled appearance that you're more important than you really are. Now, I love my community. I love my followers, but I think that the value that I provide in my content is worth more to me than any number is. But it's nice to have because I'm getting brand deals now. I'm getting opportunities now. And I didn't do anything special. At the beginning of my speech and podcast movement, I'm not young. I'm not handsome. I'm not smart. I have no business degree. I have no marketing degree. There's nothing special about me that separates me from doing it and you from doing it. And any average person can do it with their phone. You don't need a fancy camera. You need research, test the formats, and consistently go all in on one format.
Absolutely. And so we did, like I said it earlier, 30-second, 45-second video together, and you sandwich, because I said, hey, this is your daily disruption. That's my short kind of video title. And I'm like, but today you're not going to get it from me. You're going to get it from Travis Brown. And then I said, and I asked, I think I might have asked you, he's like, why do you like making videos? Right after you got off stage, I'm talking about videos.
Making videos.
But you did it in 45 seconds, Dan. Like, so my question is kind of, combo. You can go longer if you want, but values in video. I mean, you talked about why they're important, but and the hook is important. But I mean, I guess the main goal for you when it comes to the value, that's because I think in that 45-second rip, I remember you said the word legacy, right? And that's is important to you with what you're doing. And I feel the same way, right? It's like, I have a journal I keep for my boys, my sons, but at the same time, like, I mean, shit, they might not even want to read pen ink on a paper when they can just, let me just scroll back and look at maybe some of my dad's shit if they wanted to, maybe they don't even care. But anyway, so your thoughts on just value and video. And
I
don't think
so because
people are uncomfortable sometimes because, like, what do I say? Well, I mean, just dumb it. I mean, I'm like, if you dumb it down, it's really not. Okay. So
short form video content is kind of like an elevator pitch, right? You have a small amount of time to bring something to the table to somebody because people expect short videos. Now on Instagram, we can do up to 90-second videos. And I don't know how well those perform because of attention spans, but think of it like this. You're flipping TV stations on the channel in the hotel, and you're flipping until you see something that catches your attention and you stop. This is the same behavior that people have on short form video content. They flip their thumb until they see something that catches their attention. Okay. So the reason it's so important for everybody, if you're in a business or not, is because one, it's you showing up, all right, and you're talking to the camera, which is already more magnetic. We are biologically programmed to look for faces, okay? When you're born, you look for mom's face. When you look at the moon, you see a face. And if you look at a tree long enough, I guarantee you, you're going to see a face because we want to see faces. So with your face on the camera and you're telling somebody something in 15, 30, 45 seconds that is of value to them, you have now created a piece of content that is super valuable to a lot of people that they could actually potentially take action on or comment on or save on, right? So I don't do the bubble pointing and the dancing stuff. Like I don't see any value in that. Like I see the value in
I see that and I'm like, it's clever. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it, but you know, I mean, respect,
yeah,
whatever.
Hey, it's just not for me, right? If you can, if you like that, that's great. I think most people that point at the bubbles have something really important to say, but they're afraid to say it. It's a lot of fear-based issues. So as a musician, I've always thought I would love it if my songs were good enough to hold up for like 100 years, right? Somebody in the future finds an album and they put it on and the song holds up. Well, I think about that with my content as well. Now I have children, and how cool would it be if you could go back and see your parents, what they did, you know, years later, from a legacy standpoint. Right. And so when I set out to make a piece of content, I don't think the bubble pointing is going to last. I don't think the trending audio is going to last. But what I do think is going to last are really good stories, and valuable based content will live on forever. So when people ask me, hey, how many hashtags should I use? It's irrelevant. Hashtags just categorize your content. What trending audio should I use? It's irrelevant. If you're using trending audio and you're not doing the trend, it's irrelevant, right? So, you know, trends to me are fading, and storytelling is legacy. And so that's my philosophy. And not everyone's going to agree with that, but I think that most people have these unique stories and lives and value to give, but they don't ever tell the people because they're worried about somebody saying something about their appearance or their speech or their this or that. And the truth of the matter is that nobody's just sitting around waiting to tear you down. There are trolls, and that's a whole nother story. But for the most part, people don't watch you. They're thinking their thoughts. They might be hungry. They might have to go to the bathroom. They're not like dissecting you, right? So to get on camera just takes a little courage, and to know that what is the worst possible thing that could happen? Like, what's the worst possible thing that can happen, right? The worst possible thing that can happen, in my opinion, is you go viral for something stupid, and then you're the guy that his pants fell down on the escalator for the rest of your life. I'd much rather make sure that I'm putting myself out there where I get to tell people what I'd like to be known for, right? So there's an opportunity cost when you break that down. So there's a couple of great things about video. And listen, video isn't going anywhere. The best we're going to get at this point is maybe artificial reality, but that's years away. So if you're looking for the biggest opportunity right now, it is short form video content.
Real quick, we're not quite done yet, but I want people to know how to get a hold of you. So how do people get a hold of you on IG or however?
Yeah, so Instagram is the best place to find me. I am all in on Instagram. It's at Travis Brown. And listen, if you want the 10,000 follower blueprint book that Taylor's talking about, just send me a DM that says PM22. It stands for podcast movement. So Paul Mary 22. It will automatically send you the download to my book, which is a blueprint of how you can go from 0 to 10,000 followers. Now, there's no wacky shortcut BS hacks in there. This is foundational information on how you can put out great content, use the mediums the right way, and use the platform the right way to actually build a following. Okay. Actually build a raving fans, lunatics that just love you. Okay. So when you see this book, That is the exact way we teach at Social Boom, which is our creator community, right? So we help coaches.
That was the next question. Great
Yeah.
segue. You segued for me. I was going to say, all right, now coaching, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So we have a creator community where we teach the foundations of specifically social media growth and then turning your expertise into a product. Okay. And the way that we do that is we have 3 coaching calls a week. We have a Facebook community, and we have what's called our Insta Boom Accelerator. Now, the Accelerator program is broken down day by day, step by step, because the worst possible thing you could do is buy Taylor's new book and read the whole thing and then don't do anything with it. Right. And then just read another book. You don't need more information. What you need is action. Okay. So we break it down so you learn one thing and then we expect you to apply it. And then you learn another thing and you apply it. And what happens after you do that for a few days, weeks, it compounds and you're starting to see all these results because you're slowing down to speed up. So before you buy the next course, the next book, I want you to think about this. How could I get the most action out of the book, not the most knowledge out of the book? Okay. Because knowledge is completely useless without action. So we've broken down that program and it's all workbook based. I cannot tell you how many courses I've bought where it's like, here's 10,000 hours of video. I'm like, I don't have 10,000 hours to watch videos. Like, give me, spoon feed me so I can take action. So it's a great community. We help creators, entrepreneurs, authors. We have real estate agents, chiropractors, and it's the greatest creator community in the world because we don't just throw you behind a paywall. We actually show up in a collaborative way to help you through your journey. So the best part about this, Taylor, is that most of these social media gurus, and I'm very anti-guru if you haven't picked that up yet, they're going to charge you $5,000 to $10,000 for something like this. Our program is $297 a year. Okay. Because we want you to win. We want you to have this information. It shouldn't be hid behind a paywall. And so to the beginning of my story, when I was, doing podcasts, teaching podcasting, everyone wanted to know how to grow an audience and monetize it. And now I'm giving the people what they want.
It's beautiful. I know it's tons of fun. I'm sure you love being in leading, obviously I can tell you're passionate about, the community that you built and that you're able to coach and watch the successes from. And I think most people want that,
Yeah. My whole goal in life is to have my students be more successful than I am. Like, I think any good coach is like, they've achieved something and they're going to catapult you further than that. And I absolutely love it. I am an extrovert, right? So it's easy for me to be like, hey, it's Travis, right? But my goal in life, does $1 million sound nice? Sure. But millions of impact sounds a lot better because, like I said, I have a car, I have a house, I have a family, I have everything I need. There's not really more dollars in a bank account somewhere isn't going to fulfill me as much as unblocking you from reaching your potential. That's what makes my brain and heart tick.
Love it. I'm getting pulled over in my own house. It's wild. All right. So you are the coach, the mentor. I'm curious, 3 times a week. All right. Is this, how many are in the coach? Is it one-on-one? Is it, you said your partner, I'm giving a shout out, Dan Thomas. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the calls are all group. So, one-to-one is great. And it's great if you want to go fast and have a mentor, but we've found based on our own experience that, even in our own experience of being in masterminds and things like that, is that you can learn so much from other people's journey as well. And so I feel like with the group element, you may not get one-on-one attention, but even if you're just a wallflower, you're going to learn a ton from other people's experiences and community. And I know you're huge in community, right? You've got the magazine, you do the mastermind. That is the core of your business because you are able to have not only the opportunity to help those people, but there's collaborators, there's future employers and employees in that group. There's possibly love matches. You have no idea the possibilities when you put a bunch of people together. So I love that you're community focused, and that's why we do it the way we do it.
How about you? Do you have a coach or mentor?
Absolutely. I've had the best investments I've ever made in my life are through mentorship. So I've always invested in things like mastermind groups. So I'm in a software mastermind right now. Me and Dan, we're partners, but we actually coach each other, right? We know how to help each other out. I've done high ticket coaching courses. I've done other masterminds. Every time I invest in something, I get 10x the result, right? So if you're thinking about joining Taylor's mastermind group, you're going to get results, right? If you're thinking about joining anything, if you put your effort in, you will get way more in. And listen, I went to college. I graduated from college, okay? And I worked 2 jobs for 5 years to pay off my student loans. And I'm glad I did, right? It was a good experience. But trying and failing and then getting back up and trying and failing is worth way more than the $100,000 that I spent on college, right? That's where it's all at. And I truly believe that getting a mentor, even if it's virtual or like a coaching program, is so much more valuable than college at this particular point, because you will actually leave with something that you could turn into money, where college, you get a piece of paper and it's like, see you later, right? So you're going to get out of this life what you invest in yourself. And that's the knowledge in real estate. That's your network, right? The mastermind group. That's the magazine allowing you to connect with other people in the industry, right? And that's where you should be investing your energy.
Yeah. So, people, you're always going to get beat down. Life, it's going to throw a curveball. Like these things happen, and hopefully I love what you said earlier about being able to, or like the way you articulate shit. I had a good point. Where the hell was I going with that?
I think you're going to say that I'm not afraid to fail.
Say that again.
Not afraid to fail.
Yeah. Well, okay. So yeah, okay. I got it back. The scientist, right? It's an experiment. Thank you.
Yes.
But so what are some of your biggest challenges on the beginning, side of things? And, how did you overcome them, man? Like,
so I mean, every day, here's the weird thing. Everyone thinks that like being your own boss is a really sexy job. But the reality of that is that once you leave a job and become self-employed, instead of having other people to filter problems to, all the problems are yours. So basically every day of my life, I expect that I'm going to fix a problem because it's my business. I'm the boss. I'm the employee. I'm potentially the customer, right? So if you can just basically say that for the rest of my life as an entrepreneur, all I have to do is just overcome the obstacles, then it's a different look than, oh my God, everything's going wrong. Listen, iOS 14, the update, basically killed my Facebook advertising business. I was running, $50,000 to $100,000 worth of ads and selling a ton of e-commerce products. The second they released that, done. Like the faucet got turned off, right? And that happened to every e-commerce business, not just mine. So therein lies the change. And then you have to figure out a new strategy, right? When I was building a mobile app, I had no idea how to do it, right? There were so many things, but at the end of it, I had a beautiful mobile app that works great. And I have hundreds of subscribers that, get me residual passive income every month. So, problems are actually veiled opportunities. They're either feedback on why something sucks and how you can fix it. They're opportunities to optimize your business. There's no such thing as passive income. I don't care what you say. I have rental properties. Yes, it's passive income until the refrigerator explodes. And then it's my problem, right? Until the toilet overflows and stains the ceiling. There's no real thing. There's nothing really passive about anything. So that lifestyle, that dream is unattainable. You have to be ready to go, okay, what's the problem today? All right, how do I fix it? Move on.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole game.
That's the game. I love the game. It's a fun game if you figure out how to make it fun.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Taylor, is there is an element of, like I make video content because it's the best part of my day. I love making video content, right? It took me a while to get there, but it's something I love, right? And, spreadsheets, I hate spreadsheets, but, it's part of the game and I have to do the spreadsheets. So as long as there's something to look forward to, then you'll always have something good in your day.
Respect. Well, hey, before we get out of here, a couple last questions, just short answers. First thing that comes to your mind, what's and I might not know because I'm not, I'm in Houston and not around the corner from you. So what's your favorite restaurant? Okay. Maybe I'll come visit, where I go. What's your favorite restaurant? What do you like to eat there?
Favorite restaurant is called Au Cheval, and it is the best cheeseburger in the world. Okay. It's downtown Chicago. If you're going to go there, get there 30 minutes before they open, because there's a line out the door every day. They make their own ice cream and root beer for root beer float, and the cheeseburger is absolutely phenomenal. My favorite spot in Chicago.
That's the type of food that I seek out on Sundays.
Yes,
that's the go ham day. What's the last book you read?
The last book I read. Wow. Or favorite?
Yeah. Either one.
My favorite book, I've honestly reduced my book intake because I'm like self-helped out. I'm good enough, right? Like I don't need to be any better. But my all-time favorite book is by an author named Derek Sivers. It's called Anything You Want. And it's about how he built a company called CD Baby and helped musicians be able to sell their music. This is kind of before Apple Music came out and Spotify came out. And it's a quick read. It's the best book. If you want to be inspired in your business, highly recommend it.
Say again, name of it?
Anything You Want.
Sweet. What's your dream vacay?
Oh, I want to go to the Great Pyramids in Egypt. Yeah, that's at the top of my bucket list. And then there's also this pilgrimage. It's called the Full Camino, and you go. It's 30 days of hiking, and you hike from France to Spain. And so at some point in my life, me and my wife and my kids, when they're old enough, we're going to go do this. And basically you just stay at hostels through the journey, but you do the same pilgrimage that it's either the people from France or Spain did way back in the day.
Respect. Gotcha. You going to ride a camel if you go to see the pyramids?
What's that? A camel? Yeah.
Camel?
Yes, of course.
Gotta do it. All right, what else? No, I'm not going there to ride the damn camel, but same thing. It's like if I'm there, I may as well. What else I got for you? What's the best advice you ever got? Who gave it to you?
Yeah. So very early on in my my working career, somebody told me that the key to having a good reputation is to do what you say you're going to do. Okay. So if you tell somebody you're going to meet them, don't cancel at the last minute. If you tell someone you're going to get something done, have a consider it done mindset. So do what you say you're going to do, and people will always think of you in the highest regard. And I think that that's true for everything you do in every aspect of life, not just work.
Yeah. So much power in that. So much power in that. Love it, man. All right. Last time before I get us out of here, one more time, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so just find me on Instagram at Travis Brown, TravisBrown. I run my account. I'll respond to any DMs, say hello, send me a DM that says PM22, and you'll get my 10,000 follower blueprint book for free. And come say, hey, I'm a social butterfly. So I love meeting new people, which is why I love meeting you at Podcast Movement. Even though when we were at all those parties, it was so loud. The music was so loud. It was almost impossible to have an actual conversation, but
it was tricky for sure.
I'm super grateful. Can I ask your audience one favor before I go?
100%.
Okay. If you don't have a podcast, you have no idea how hard it is to run a podcast, let alone do 133 episodes like our friend Taylor has. And the lifeblood, something that will make a podcaster's day, is simply a review. And I'm not talking about just 5 stars. I'm talking about actually writing something about how this show has changed your life. So if you've gotten value from any episode that this show has released in 133 episodes plus, just take 5 minutes today and go write an honest review. It will make Taylor's day, because he has to book guests, show up to the guests, produce the podcast, go live. And it's a free thing that you can do to show your appreciation for our man for putting this show on.
Travis, I appreciate you saying that. You gotta work, you gotta grind it out. That's where it is. But it's labor of love, and it is a ton of fun. So I appreciate that. What was the thing again? PM 2022 for
just
your
PM22. PM22.
I did it 4 weeks ago when he was on stage, and then that night, who sponsored that? iHeartRadio.
Yes.
That was fun. Wasn't expecting that. It's you know what? Here I'll say this before I sign us off. It was I thought it was really cool, because I'm in the real estate industry, have been for 10 years, and the realtors is this coveted, spot, right? The lenders and the title and the inspectors and the home warranty, like everybody, it's like, hey, use me, Mr. Mrs. Realtor.
Yeah.
And as a quote unquote, podcaster, like I kind of felt that, right, with all the vendors and the exhibitors and everybody was, because there's a lot of cool stuff and respect. It was interesting, kind of being on the other side. But anyway, iHeartRadio, shout out to them because they obviously took care of all of us, and it was
they throw some killer parties. If you're interested in podcast movement's a great place to go. And listen, any opportunity,
go to the conference, have a good time.
Yeah, any opportunity you have to network with people that's where all the business is done. That's all the relationships are made, and that's how I'm sitting here with you right now.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in Disruption Nation. It's a free platform, or that we have guests on that are disrupting their space in a positive way, and I think you can tell obviously by the conversation and the track record and the history and the mindset and the knowledge on the videos that Travis Brown is really good at doing just that. So and give us a subscribe. It costs you nothing, by the way. It's free. So we appreciate that, and we hope to see you soon. We drop these, used to be all the time. We just upped our frequency to a lot more than once a week. Anyway, just stay tuned. You'll see what we're putting out. But hey, Travis, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. And everybody else, we will see you next time. Thanks.